If I was them and I was evil, I'd be false flagging, blaming patriots and trying to trigger a war. No, you've written books on those scenarios. Are we entering the hour of the false flag?
The big event that I see coming up is going to be January 20th in Richmond, Virginia. And I think it's going to be a bigger event than Charlottesville, which was the Unite the Right rally. The narrative is that it was all Nazis and Klansmen, racists. That's the ability of the mainstream media to shape a narrative. Now you've got this flashpoint in Virginia where 85 out of 95 counties have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties, yet liberals that run Northern Virginia and Richmond control the state.
And to be poor and to go into debt and to lose all the jobs, lose all the employment, lose all the factories, send them overseas, send them to Mexico, send them everywhere.
It's called social globalism.
Right. In other words, if you read the Bible, you'll see that in the book of Revelation, at the end of time, there's a one world government with the Antichrist in charge. America is too big and strong and powerful, so they want to get rid of America. And here's Trump making America great, and they hate him for that. That's why they hate him.
He's the only Republican who rocked the boat, except for Reagan. In his time, they hated Reagan, too. The Republican Party didn't want him in there either. He's the rock a boat kind of guy.
And the corporate media and the left-wingers want to get rid of America. The Democrat Party wants to get rid of America.
Well, they're not afraid of saying there for socialism.
They want to get rid of America because they've been sucked into this one world government, and they want a one world government, and they're preparing for the Antichrist, the Constitution and freedom and jobs and high employment and all that. They hate that.
It comes to mind, if you think about it, it's an oxymoron with how the Democrats and liberals think. They want everything to be dispersed out. They want to give all of our wealth to other countries who are poor. And this comes to mind. Yet they have great big homes like Pelosi.
Oh, yeah, like Pelosi with a wall.
So let's go to this. I just heard this today. In Oregon, they have a law. I don't know if it's going to be passed or it's already passed. If you own a private property, like you own an apartment building or a business, but the apartment building got me the worst. Say your rent is $2,000 a month, which it probably is in Oregon. They have to have a place in those apartment buildings for people to come in, and they're called resting places or something like that.
Free apartment.
Exactly what it is. It's like, well, I don't have the money. I'm a homeless person. And don't get me wrong. We are the church, not the government. But the church is supposed to help the homeless. But we shouldn't, as private owners of apartment building, not have to be able to tell someone who is, what's it called, loitering the premises. And there's another name for it, too, where when someone comes in that doesn't belong there and they just stay there, go to the bathrooms and take a bath or whatever in the sink, they're making that a law now where they have to do that if you're going to own a building. That's socialism.
We had a program on this idea, and it was called Seattle is Dying. We had it on this program. It was all about people, they just take over the city, and they use the sidewalk for their bathrooms, and the whole thing is taken over.
That's in San Francisco, too. Geologist and another guy, he was a scientist, and it's actually going into the ocean, Pacific Ocean. They can't even contain it. They can't get it up enough. They can't get the feces, all the junk up, going into the
ocean.
And they have certain times they can't let people go in on the beaches because it's going into the ocean.
You never thought it ever happened
in America.
But it is happening.
That reminds me, I had missionary friends who went to Kathmandu, and they said that very thing. They would go see the streets and had these little ditches where people would just go and do their business out in the street. We have it in America now. That was back in the 80s. And now here we're doing it, 40 years later?
It's amazing. And the movie that we showed testified that most of these homeless people were on drugs.
Due to those problems, but majority of them.
They passed a law that the people, these homeless people that were on drugs, either had to take a rehab program to get them out of drugs, or they'd have to go to prison.
Or is a rehab program free for them, so it doesn't encumber anybody to try to get rehab?
No. Some of the people that were in prison and were forced to go into the rehab program said, this is the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was heading to a dead end. I was going to die with an overdose sooner or later. And so they were very grateful that the government had put their foot down.
Now, that's a good thing, the government.
And you either get into drug rehabilitation, like the methadone program, where it's not perfect because they have to have one drug as substituting for the heroin, which is dangerous and often fatal. But at least they were able to live a normal life if they took a little methadone instead of shooting up heroin.
Status of that was? How is it going? Is it working?
According to the movie that we showed, it said that they were doing good. We're in a cultural war. They're trying to destroy America. There are people that want to make millions off of closing our factories and sending them to China and Mexico.
Well, that has a lot to do with Democrat policies, because they want to regulate
so
much that people can't afford, so it's cheaper for them to go overseas. It's also a little bit of greed, too, on the capitalist side. That's why the capitalists, like myself, have to be a little more non-greedy, and you might have to pay more for U.S. workers, but that's the way it should be. We want to help us. If we want to export them, that's fine. But capitalism, yes, that's one of the arguments of the left, that it's greedy. But at the same time, greed, though, you can't
control.
Yes. But you also can't tell someone not to be greedy or tell someone not to be hate, like the hate laws. You're going to have to allow, that's a type of feeling, that's a type of emotion. You can't control emotions. I guess you could and do what they did in the Nazi camp. They kept them from doing anything. They were like little sheep, slaughter.
They say that there's a handful of political entities that are trying to control all the business, send it over to China, send it over to Mexico, and then they reap all the profits. But in the meanwhile, all the American workers are out of business, out of jobs.
But I think Trump has changed some of that.
Trump has changed it a lot.
We need to vote again for him.
That's why they hate him. We got another one about Pelosi.
The difference is we don't engage in the politics of personal destruction. The fact is, talk about the issues. For example, I think it would be interesting to people in these districts to know that the speaker wants to take away the guarantee of Medicare. So I think talking about issues is where we should be. What is the difference in one person being speaker than another? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, we call it the wrap-up smear. You want to talk politics? Call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. It's a tactic. It's self-evident. But I think I'm worth the trouble, quite frankly. I love the spread. I'm not disrespectful of people's views. I respect positive things that people want to say, or even negative, as long as it's constructive.
She has been very critical of Trump. It seems to me that really she was admitting her own tactics there, the way she operates, to say bad things about people, make up stories like, oh, the Russian collusion and all of this, and then leak it to the press so the press will write a story about it, like the New York Times or the Washington Post, and then
they market it. She's telling on herself.
Telling on herself. Oh, look, the Washington Times said that Trump was involved with the Russians trying to take over the elections and all. It just goes from bad to worse.
Somebody in their right mind ought to know they cannot get into our voting booths and tell someone how to vote first off. And second off, if it's that vulnerable, well, then we just might as well give up. It's interesting. I just heard this today, too. A guy called in and his son is turning 16 years old. He wants to go get his driver's permit and he lives in New York City. And Mayor Bloomberg just made a decree or whatever that anybody can have a driver's license. You don't have to be a citizen. They went back 3 or 4 times and the lines were literally round and round blocks. and they obviously weren't citizens because he said, we never had that problem with their other child. Here it is, a citizen wants to go in and have his right to learn to drive. The line for so long because people are getting driver's license.
This is New York City.
It's happening right now as we speak. He just started this recently. But what's bothering me is the Constitution goes out the window. They don't have the same rights as we do. Remember they did that with Sheikh, the guy that was one of the part of the terrorists in the 911? They were trying to give him equal rights. And they said, no, he needs to go to the tribunal law. But they were trying to give him the same rights as we would if we committed murder. So they want to give them the rights, but yet they want to take away our rights, like our guns or this or that. It's interesting how they want to do us bad, treat us bad, and then allow the non-citizens to do whatever and get whatever.
They want really you and me to pay for
and
everything.
I don't have a problem helping with people, but let me do it. You don't take it out of my taxes. Let us as a church and groups do it, not just churches.
That would
but
be better.
Bible
Volunteer.
too. The Bible says the people are supposed to help. It's not the government.
That's right.
And that's biblical too.
Trump is doing a good job, and he's making America great with low unemployment, higher wages, and
lower regulations on businesses.
Yeah, and better jobs, more jobs. They hate him for that. They want America to be everybody on welfare and everybody unemployed and on unemployment insurance.
Like under Obama, there were so many people on unemployment, food stamps, and now they have jobs.
They want government to be in control of your life so that you owe your food and everything to the government. That is going away now because Trump has made America prosperous again, gotten a lot of jobs in here. It just goes to show that we're in a cultural war. I bring it back to what's happened in the book of Revelation. Antichrist wants to come in and control everybody in a one world socialist government. There are people today that want that. They want the big bankers to be in control of all the money supply and the Federal Reserve. Since the Federal Reserve controlled the money supply, the dollar's now worth like 5 cents.
It's not quite that bad.
It's terrible. What
is it? 30 cents?
3 cents.
That's all our dollar's worth?
1913, yeah.
Our dollar's only worth 3 cents. What do you mean versus 1913? I don't understand.
In other words, I remember a penny postcard used to cost a penny.
Oh, my word.
Now it's about 20 cents or something like that. So it's maybe 20 times.
No. Oh, postcard. Yeah, I was going to say the mail is now 55 in it. Or 55.
Yeah, it used to be 5 cents for a letter.
I remember those days.
You remember?
I've got
and
a
you're
stamp.
just a young.
Well, I'm not young, but
I remember when it was a nickel stamp. Now they're 55, so that's 10 times.
I think I remember 8 cents. You remember the 5. But it seems like I've seen the 5, though, or haven't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen George Washington on a 5-cent stamp. I remember when you can get 3 loaves of bread for $1.
Your things when the loaves of bread become $2 a loaf. Price was coming back. Well, now it's already $2.99. I guess he's going to come soon.
These are coupon books. They're $20, and they say there's a couple of $100 worth of coupons in here. It's for major restaurants, Flanagan's Ale House,
looks
Old
like
Chicago,
Buckhead, Skyline Chili, Blaze Pizza, the Mega
Older Than
Cavern,
Dirt.
McDonald's,
And these are all in Louisville.
Bonefish
If you want
Grill.
one for Lexington, we could give them one for Lexington.
Oh, do we have that too?
Yeah.
It's got lots and lots and lots.
So we're running out of time. So if you want one of these, or if you want literature like Jesus bumper sticker, you can call 895-5025. 895-5025. Just leave your name, address, and phone number, and we can get back with you. But these are $20, the coupon books. Then all the bumper stickers, we can send them reference where they could see these videos too.
We still got another 4.5 minutes. But this is kind of reminding me of how they're trying to ruin America. They're doing it from the education system. 1 out of 23 schools, I think, if I'm doing this correctly, in the United States, the children failed English and math, 3rd through 8th grade. But they knew global warming in 12 years they were going to die. But listen to this, they also knew how to get a sex change operation in science class. But they failed English and math.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's how you dumb down America.
Well, we're running out of time. If you want any of these materials, call 5025. The area code is 502. God bless you, and tune in again next week.
Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Dr. Frank Simon. I'm an allergist and family doctor, board certified in both allergy and internal medicine. I specialize in allergy, headaches, sinus, hives, cough, asthma, hypertension, and diabetes. We're located at 1404 Browns Lane near Norton Suburban Hospital. Our phone number is 895-5088. We can see you tomorrow. Hi, this is Frank Simon with the rest of the news, and Pastor John Brewer is here with us. We want to talk about the crisis in Virginia where Democrats are trying to confiscate all the guns. That's amazing, isn't it?
Well, it's the rest of the story. We almost can't emphasize that enough because the major news outlets, they are not carrying this at all.
They don't want anybody to know that the Democrats in Virginia are confiscating all the guns.
What they did, first of all, they got a input from Michael Bloomberg, big anti-gun. He is largely responsible, and perhaps Soros behind the scenes, for flipping that legislature
From Republican
to Democrat. And
so now they're trying to confiscate all the guns.
Now they actually have got some of the craziest bills you would ever imagine.
And they're trying to start them here in Kentucky, too.
They are. At least we're starting to react, and that's what we're going to report about, too.
That's what we talked about this afternoon. Okay, you want to play that?
Okay, let's see if we can play it here.
I want to bring Matt Bracken up here. I appreciate him coming on. He was going to host this hour, but he's always happy to have me run over and just get his take on the magnitude and get his view on what the Democrat plan is with this move and now why they're holding back the articles and where you see this going. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying they may come in and try to disqualify the Senate when that's not their prerogative or their branch of government. They've got some dirty tricks planned. We know that. Now they're launching them. What do you think the prognosis of this is? What do you think their attack plan is? Best-selling author, researcher, enemiesforeigndomestic.com, former Navy SEAL Matt Bracken.
Well, they fired their big guns now, and it was kind of a misfire because they marched all the way out to have a vote last night, but now they're too afraid, as McConnell's put it. They've got such a weak hand that they're afraid to play it. So they're depending on something like the Supreme Court. I think that's a losing proposition. Meanwhile, they're waiting for the prosecutor Durham to come out with his indictments. So I think that they're trying to stall now, and they're going to, because it's just going to be embarrassing if they go over to the Senate and either one of two things is going to happen. It's going to be dismissed, and they're going to just call it the House effort, a kangaroo court sham, a joke. It's not worthy of a Senate trial. Or they're going to have a trial. They're going to subpoena Hunter Biden, Eric Ciaramella, whose name is still not said on TV, although I did see Gohmert mention his name aloud on Fox Business. He actually used the name, but not in the context of the whistleblower.
And think about how they're trying to train us to be slaves. Let me ask you this. You were saying that you thought the IG report would be more damning. You were saying you think Durham's going to take action. I thought you were wrong when it first came out. It had some good nuggets in there, but what Horowitz has done since then, his statements today about criminal activity, the FBI being political, how they need to get in trouble, the word coming out of things is Durham is planning something. So from whatever sources you've got, it looks like you're hopefully right. They need to take action yesterday, in my view.
I think that they should have taken action actually before the impeachment vote. But I think the left has cried wolf so many times politically that Americans, especially independents, that's the real needle moves of the independents in the polls. The left has cried wolf over Russian collusion, every other Trump hoax. And the only thing that they've got left is to completely flip the narrative with some kind of a major incident that's going to put impeachment and everything else into the shadow. I see a few events on the horizon that have the potential to flip the narrative and have everybody talking a new bright shiny object, squirrel. That's what's going to have to happen because impeachment's a loser. It shows because they're not even playing their hand.
What about false flags? They don't have control of any of these subgroups and agencies now, but they've still got some networks. If I was them and I was evil, I'd be false flagging, blaming patriots and trying to trigger war. No, you've written books on those scenarios. Are we entering the hour of the false flag?
Yeah, and big event that I see coming up is going to be January 20th in Richmond, Virginia. And I think it's going to be a bigger event than Charlottesville, which was the Unite the Right rally, which is portrayed that it was all Nazis and Klansmen, racists. That's the ability of the mainstream media to shape a narrative. Now you've got this flashpoint in Virginia where 85 out of 95 counties have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties, yet the liberals that run Northern Virginia and Richmond control the state. They're actually talking about whether or not the Virginia National Guard will be enforcing the laws to
confiscate guns, and the National Guard had to say no. They're trying to stir up a fight. We know that. You're absolutely dead on about that. You called this months ago. What is happening January 20th? The new government comes in.
Well, that's when the Virginia House of Representatives, it's a Commonwealth, I'm not sure what the nomenclature is, but that's their first day, that's their opening session. And a group called the Virginia Citizens Defense League, the VCDL, they're going to be running buses in for what they're calling a lobby day. They don't want people waving guns. They don't want people wearing camo or looking threatening.
There's going to be provocateurs there.
Absolutely. And it's going to be like Charlottesville. Most people that went to defend the Robert E. Lee statue, obviously they weren't Nazis, they weren't Klansmen.
Sure, and the left hired a bunch of fake groups to go then make everybody look like Nazis. That's totally staged.
If there's 10 knuckleheads waving AR-15s wearing cami with rebel flags, the Antifas, they'll be there.
Is that the end of it?
Yeah, it is.
I think we ought to just define a few terms that he used, like a fake flag incident. That means they pretend to think a patriot shot the governor and blame the patriots.
It's you doing something, one party doing it against somebody on their own side and making it look like
the good guys did it.
False flags are used oftentimes. Unfortunately, this is a deep state problem. That's what we're going to get to. CIA, FBI, some of these agencies don't even maybe have letters. But this is the kind of thing that right now the opposition is using. That's what they're trying to use against Trump. They're not necessarily operating within any bounds. And so they're looking for an event that will make President Trump be
bad guy.
Well, overstep his authority or anything they can use
to attack him,
take him down.
I think it's important to bring out that President Trump has made America great, and that's why they hate him.
Yeah, they hate him for a lot of reasons, but I'll tell you one of the biggest reasons is he stands in the way of global takeover. He is for America.
And they hate him.
And they hate him for that.
They hate America. I hate to oversimplify, but we got two parties in America. One hates America, and the other loves America. Did I overstate it?
I don't think it overstates it. And I do believe that there's a lot of good people who are unaware of what is really happening, because the main news that you turn on your TV or your cable TV, they're not telling you this. I bet that none of our audience, or most of our audience, isn't even aware of what's happening in Virginia.
That they're trying to confiscate the guns of everybody in Virginia.
They actually said they threatened to bring out the National Guard, and the National Guard has said, no, we're not doing that, which is good.
Well, it was Ted Cruz. He said some of the sheriffs said that they would rather go to jail than to attack the people that like America.
And this is happening here in Kentucky. We are starting to get organized, and partially just to send a strong message. A lot of people, history-wise, aren't familiar with the fact that we actually used to be a part of Virginia. The whole state of Kentucky was a county of Virginia. Besides those roots, the people that were both in Kentucky and in Virginia, they saw what it took. These were our founding fathers. Kentucky was like right after the original colonies. They saw what it took. They placed that Second Amendment in the Constitution for a reason. They knew that if a tyrant somehow got in control, the only way that they could stop that tyrant would be to have weapons.
That's exactly right. Now, we ought to mention that's Alex Jones, and it's what's the name of his program?
InfoWars.
InfoWars. So people want to know who was that and why did he say that and where's he coming from. But these are all important things that are going on. They mentioned in your video there, the left-wingers, the Democrats, don't really take control of Virginia until January 20th. So really, they won't try to confiscate guns until January 20th.
Well, what they've done is they've pre-filed these bills already. We know what they're going to do.
What they're trying to do.
Yeah. But they got the votes to do it. At this point, they got the votes.
Because the Democrats took over Virginia because
right. Michael Bloomberg
poured millions and millions and millions of dollars and bought the election.
He actually did. Unfortunately, this is something that we should have learned a long time ago. It happened with Gill out in Colorado. And he did the same thing. He flipped that thing from a red state to a blue state. And he said, oh, I'm going to teach other people how to do this. This is really easy. You spend far less money taking over a state legislature than you do
U.S.
the federal government.
They are going to try to confiscate all the guns from the good people in Virginia.
The way they've got it written like your gun has to weigh such and such, and it has to be such and such, and so that you're not even going to know if you have the right to carry it. You might have a right to carry it. You would have to go see an attorney to find out whether or not it's legal or not.
He mentioned that 85 out of 95 counties in Virginia have set up sanctuary county for the Second Amendment.
That's a unique turn that plays off the immigration thing where these different cities and stuff, or some counties maybe, some even to the state. California is pretty close to that. It plays off of we're just going to ignore the federal government. We're not going to enforce those laws. The irony here is, and this is a grassroots movement, the people that are doing this, it actually is supporting the law. It's actually supporting the federal constitution and their state constitution. And it's the same oath that everyone has to take, supporting the Constitution. So, false flag or not, I saw some footage last night. Some of these Kentucky counties, probably the majority of Kentucky counties right now, are in some state of preparation. They've got 3 or 4 that have already declared themselves sanctuary counties.
For the Second Amendment.
For the Second Amendment. They will not enforce somebody else's order to go out and take guns.
This is really important. So let's just review again. Bloomberg, who is left wing, he was the mayor of New York for a while.
City, yeah.
He has a lot of money and he poured millions and millions into the state of Virginia so that the left wingers could take over the state government in Virginia. And then they've already pre-filed, as you said, these bills to take over all the guns from the good people in Virginia.
And really, their hope is to provoke